everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Camilla.
And today we're taking a look at Tequila. Not the drink, but the roll and write game that is a pretty involved roll and write game. A lot of stuff going on in here. In fact, we're going to learn how to play it here, not from any of us, but Z is going to show us how to play it.
What?
To set up the game, each player is going to get a sheet from each of these two pads. This is going to be your fields over here, your area where you can build buildings. Over here you've got a region where you make the tequila and where you sell it off, as well as some trackers for the various things you're collecting. Everybody gets one of these boards representing you, your humidor, and so there's these over here. They also all have a B side, which are different, by the way, but I'm just going to be showing you the A side, the basic side. It comes with the pencils, and then you have this board over here, which also has a B side, by the way, but I'm not going to worry about it. And then you pick a star player, you give them this, they take the 2 dice, and you are ready to go. I'll be using pen for my example here just because it's a little easier to see on camera, all right? So the game's going to be played over 8 rounds, as denoted up here. And in each of those 8 rounds, the start player is going to start by rolling these 2 dice. So they roll the 2 dice, and then they decide if they keep that roll, if they re-roll one, or if they re-roll both. So let's say I'm fine with it. I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to put them over here where they go. Every player is now going to gain some free resources. They're going to gain right here a worker. That's a free resource there. And 1 agave from this one. If it had been a 1, there's no free resource associated with that, and a 4, also nothing associated with that. Agave at 2, and a donkey over here at 6. So to mark that, I'm going to put a line right here on the next space. I already began with 1, as you'll see, and I also have 1 worker, which I also began with 1. There we go. And now the players will do their own thing, okay? So there's main actions and then free actions. The main actions are one of 2 things. You can take building actions, you can take fencing actions. Fencing actions come from the dice in this column. Building actions come from the dice in this column. And then down here, everybody gets 1 more die of fencing or building up to them. All right? I have over here in this barrel a breakdown of how many dice it takes to give me a specific strength of that. For example, right now I have 1 die there in fencing. It has to be fencing. That's 4 fences. But if I want to, I can make the 3rd virtual die for myself, also fencing. And then at that point, I'll be drawing 6 fences. And obviously, I can't use this then for building. The building is pretty simple. It's just 1, 2, or 3 building opportunities I get to build for 1, 2, or 3 dice. All right. So let's talk about fencing first. The fencing denotes putting out fences in this area right here. And if I am doing, let's say I take my extra die and indeed make it fencing, I can start drawing these wherever I want to. I can enclose an area as big as I want it to be, but it can have at most 1 of these houses. I cannot have 2 of these. It could have none, but it cannot have more than 1. So perhaps I'll do, 1, 2, 3, and I could do 4, 5, and 6. And I could even leave it like that. It's not ready yet. I haven't enclosed anything. Next turn, I can enclose something bigger and get a better reward. So let's say I did that. I got my 6 fences for my 2 dice, my real one and my virtual one. And then for the building, we're going to look down here at my building possibilities. So there's various buildings in the game. All right, so here we go. We've got the different buildings right here. I'll set that off to the side so I can reference the names. But we begin basically with roads at the top. Roads, to build them, cost 2 of anything, 2 of any of these resources. And I would just cross them out when I'm ready to spend them. The roads can go anywhere, and in fact, they're the only ones that can go on these watery spaces. I can build there, and putting out a road is just basically putting a big cross in that space. All right? I get 2 of those for 2 resources. I get this one and I get this one, and they are used to link buildings together. Next up, I have an agave field that cost me 2 agave to put that out. It is a 2x2 square, something like that, okay? And it is going to begin my chain of production, basically, all of the other buildings are going to have to be sort of connected backwards to work. And agave, having a field of agave is step number one. There's a little bonus I'll come back to. Next up, I've got a kiln, and the kiln is going to cost me a donkey and a worker. It has that shape when I draw it on the table, on the board here. And again, it has to be in these tan spaces, not the watery spaces. And if it is connected to an agave field, the first time that happens, I get 1 water plus the kiln's function now. They have to be connected to an agave field. Then we go over here. This one is called the distiller. It costs 1 agave, 1 water. It has to be connected to a functioning kiln, which means that kiln is connected to an agave field. And the first time I do that, I'm going to get 3 barrels. The barrels are right here, and I'll be using them to bottle this tequila. Then down here I've got it's called a cask, is what they call it. It's a building that takes up 2 squares. And it has to be, here's the cost. Again, it has to be connected to a working distiller, which again follows that chain back, which to be working has to be connected to the kiln and so on. And then over here we've got this one, which is called a shop. And it is going to allow you to get coins the first time you connect it. To the cask here, you get 2 coins, and it allows you then to do better bottles, to bottle better tequila and sell that. So that's how building works. Let's say I'm going to finish out my turn. I have 1 building action left. Let's move this out of here. So I'm going to build an agave field because it takes 2 agave, and I have 2 agave. So I'm going to cross this one out, I'm going to cross this one out, and I'm going to build that somewhere like here. All right, I'm going to build it right there. It has to be in a region that isn't watery. I've covered now that donkey, so I'm going to gain that donkey right there. And then you can line this out. There we go. I have 1 agave field that I have built. And I'm done with my actions. I did 2 fencing dice. I did 1 building die. Now I get my free actions. So what are my free actions? Well, the free actions are represented by this little gear right here. And during the first round, I get 2 of them. I could always buy more of them. For any 4 resources, lets me buy more of them. But I have 2 right now. And they are, as denoted by this symbol, they are this part of the sheet. So I can do 1 of 2 things. I can bottle tequila, or I can sell up here. Now, if I sell, I'm going to spend whatever the resource is in one of these little markets, one of these little areas, and circle the value above that, cross this out, make sure I spend the corresponding thing. I can continue paying and building to the right, but it always has to be connected to something that's already been built or be one of these 3 first ones. All right. The other option then would be bottling tequila, which is here. And in order to do that, I'm going to be spending something, say 1 barrel, barrel and water, barrel, water, and agave, and I have to have a functioning building of the corresponding type. So if I want to sell one of these bottles, I am going to, or bottle it, I should say, it's going to cost me a barrel and a water, and I have to have one of these casks functioning, one of these buildings built out here and functioning. And then I can cross out the first space here, and that'll be worth 7 victory points. So for my first, I have my 2 bonus actions up here. I am going to, for my first one, I'm going to spend a worker right here, cross that out there and circle this one. And for my second one, because none of these function yet, I am going to... what am I going to do? I'm going to do it. I'm going to cross out the barrel there, and I'm going to circle that one. That's my 2 actions, and that's mostly the end of my turn. One final thing I want to mention is bonuses, a couple of bonuses throughout. Every time you complete one of these whole regions, then you are going to get 12 victory points for this one if you are the first one to do it, 10 for this one, so on. But it's only the first person who does it, or if multiple people do it the same round, that's okay too. And every time you complete one, whether you're the first one or not, you're going to get 1 coin, which goes in this region and probably is going to give you some resources and some victory points as well. You only score the highest here. So if I made it all the way to there, I get 26, not 26 plus 17 plus 11, okay? And then the other one is here, this bonus right here, which is every time I complete one of these, I'm going to get one resource of my choice. I just did 2, so I'm going to go ahead and take 2 of these resources. I know I'm going to want to build the kiln, and I have donkeys, I have a worker. I might want to build another agave field. I can take any 2 resources I want to. I'm going to take 1 agave, and I'm going to take 1 barrel. There we go, okay, for having built this one and this one. And now we go to the next round. So we give these to the next player, and they go through it. I'm going to go through one more turn, a little bit faster. I rolled a 1 and a 6. Let's say that player keeps the 6, re-rolls the 1, and it is another 6. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put it like so. So 2 donkeys for everybody. One final thing I should talk about is at the end of the first round, at the end of every round, the little sun here reminds you, hey, check for any sunset abilities, which are here. And if you have, say, 2 agave fields, you get 1 agave. 2 functioning kilns, you get a water. You can, if you have, for each of these functioning, you can sell an agave for a barrel, give up anything for a coin. Okay, so check that. But it didn't happen. It's too early in the game. So that's the end of the first round. We go to the second round. I am going to personally do... I'm going to do fences for my virtual die. I get 4 fences for 1 die. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do another fence somewhere, anywhere, right there, 4, okay? I've now enclosed this, so I'm going to gain that. I get 1 donkey here, I gain 1 water, I get an agave, and I get a worker, and then this is done. That region is taken care of, okay? I'm done with my fencing. I'm going to go to my building. I get to build 2 dice, so 2 buildings. I'm going to build a kiln, which I'm going to put right here. You can freely rotate these things. All right. It's that kind of building there. It costs 1 donkey, 1 worker. And it is functioning because it is connected either directly to an agave field or through roads to an agave field. And I'm going to immediately, therefore, get this 1 water. And now that's 1 build. For my second build, I'm going to build roads. All right. Roads says 2 of anything. I'm going to give up 1 donkey. I'm going to give up 1 agave and build roads. I'm going to build 2 of them. 1 is going to go right here. And the other one, I'm going to put here, which is the only thing that can go in the blue, again, is roads, to try to, up here then, build the next thing. And then that'll be this distiller here, connected to the kiln, connected to the agave, means it'll function. Having also built this region now entirely, at the end of the round, I will announce to the other players, hey, I built this area, and I'm going to get 12 points. If anybody else did it, they also get 12. If they haven't done it yet, they don't have access to that 12. And I'm also, now that I've completed this, I get 1 of these coins, which I cross off. It has a wild symbol under there, so I get any 1 thing. I'll take it as a barrel. There we go. I have done my 2 builds now, and now I can do my free actions, which, by the way, when you do them, you should cross them off. My 2 free actions, I now have a working kiln, so I'm going to go ahead and sell some tequila over here for my first one. I'll do this. So I cross out 1 barrel and bottle this one, which I will mark there. And for my second one, I could do that again, or I could sell to one of these locations. I think I'll do that. I'm going to spend 1 agave, and I'm going to spend 1 donkey, and go to this one here. Cross this out. Gain any 1 resource, which I'm going to give myself another barrel for later. That was my 2 free actions. With that done, I'm going to check if I have any sunset abilities. 2 agave fields, no. 2 working kilns, no. And I don't have any of these buildings quite yet. Circle this and remind the players that I've done it now. And there we go. At the end of the game, you're going to score. At the end of the 8 rounds, you're going to score over here any leftover of these that you didn't use. They're a point apiece. You're going to get over here for completing these regions earlier. You're going to get victory points for that. Over here, you're going to get victory points for the highest number you made it to in this coin track. Over here, you're going to get the victory points in the buildings. Plus, if you have the most buildings, you get a bonus 20. Second most, you get 14, and you'll write that in here. And then over here, you are going to get the highest number you made it to in each of the 4 different tequilas. Plus, if you have the most and second most, you get a bonus in each of them. And also, if you complete a column, then you have a variety of tequilas, and you get a bonus down here. You'll get the highest also. Plus, each of these would have given you a coin that you mark there when you make it. Add all this up, write it there, and then write all those scores up here and figure out what your final score is, which will be in the hundreds. You'll have, 250, 300, something like that. So there you go. Those are all the moving parts working together. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what's going on. Let's go ahead and go back up top.
All right, thanks, Z. So as you can see, there's a good chunk going on in this. This is not a simple roll and write like a lot of games are, I don't think. There's a good chunk of things.
I feel like there's a disconnect. Maybe I'm just jumping right in here with some of my thoughts, but I feel like there's
disconnect between this and drinking?
Yeah, I have a strong preference.
Well, that's
Otherwise,
what I thought it was going to be.
I feel like there's a lot going on, but it's all very simple. It has that, I think the term Z uses is the Frankenstein feel, where it's like, oh, I recognize that mechanism from something else. Oh, I recognize that piece from something else. It has that Frankenstein feel that's pretty simple, but it just feels heavier than it is as you're playing.
Well, I will say, I do know they came out with an updated, revised rule book.
Yes.
But having played it from this first rule book is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where my very first game of this, I thought it was terrible because I played a major rule wrong because the rule book wasn't clear about when you roll the dice, the actions to take. I thought you only got the actions if you put them in the top 2 spots because the actions are in those columns.
Right.
And it's not clear from the rule book that that's how that works.
You thought it was more like a grid. Where
I thought if you got a 5 or 6, you just got the resource. And that
oh
was
my
it.
goodness! Yeah. Wow! Wow!
And so, and there's several spots in the rule book that again aren't very clear.
Yep. The connections.
I have other problems with the game. Not that it's a Frankenstein, because a lot of these roll and writes are that way, and we just recently played one, which we'll be reviewing a bit, French Quarter, which is similar in that way. This one has a problem for me in its interaction, also known as
lack of.
There's none. But there's none to a point where it really matters, where you are trying to get the most of the different drinks, and you are also trying to fill in the different spots on the board. So how does that work? Am I allowed to look at your sheet? Am I not allowed?
Right.
Because the whole thing is, if you don't look at them, you'll be working on a land, and if you don't get that, all the points just go away. That's frustrating.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is
Well, then who draws first?
Right? No, it's at the end of the round. Anyone who got it, its ties is friendly, right? I assume if you complete the land at the same time.
Yes. I agree, but if I see he's working on it, I'll go somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying. Or if you start it, you're like, I was going to have it next turn, or oh, you're getting it this turn? Fine, then I'll change my plan here and I'll build a building just to make sure I net those points as well, that we equal those points out,
Right.
Zero out, that's what I'm trying to say. And that's really frustrating. It's like, no, your battle plan shouldn't be in a game like this what other people are doing when it is so individual and solo game.
Yeah, right. It's like work on your own. Work simultaneously. Sure, that makes things go fast. Which alcohol are you selling? You're selling that one?
Right.
Then I'm selling this one. No, you're selling that. And we go back and forth. So that's one of my problems. Another problem I have with it, there's 2 main actions. Fencing things and drawing buildings. One of those actions is so boring. And it's called fencing things in. So boring.
I disagree.
You think it's fun to draw?
You like that one?
Do I think it's fun? No, but do I think it is more... it's the basic resource generation that you get. And so I feel like it is a necessary part of it. I think I prefer it because you have to do it. And I find the actual building really frustrating because I don't feel like the rules are super clear on, maybe they are clear, they're just hard to hold on to as you're playing. What has to be next to each other, what counts as connected versus what doesn't count as connected, versus there's the water everywhere, which only roads can go on, but that still leaves it connected in order to make it work. it just gets so convoluted so quickly. And so I find the actual building to be frustrating. So do I want to say, do I love the building fence? No, but I prefer it over the building because the buildings are absolutely infuriating. They are not fun to play.
But that pushes it, like the building pushes you toward resource management, which there's so much that in this game. Which for me, this made me think, when I read, I'm like, I should like this game. When I didn't, I had to kind of analyze why. I think for me, it comes down to the lack of really great cascading. Because those things like Three Sisters and Fleet and all those, and Hadrian's Wall, has that almost endorphin rush where when you do something, you start to cascade and you're like, don't go yet, I'm still going. Mm-hmm. This one's more of a flop. You might luckily just go boom, boom. You get a couple more things. You don't get that really great cascading moment.
You also have to do it in order.
Right.
That's what I was
This
saying, yes.
connects to this, which connects to this, which connects to this. And I want something where I'm like, I can build this, or I can do this. I'm like, ooh, which choice is more interesting? Right. Here I'm like, well, I guess I'm building a patch of whatever that stuff is first, and then I guess I'm building the rum distillery next, and I guess I'm building this next because, well, you told me to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yay. Or I can go fence stuff in, which is boring. I just want to keep saying that. It's important to fence that stuff in. No, here's the thing. I think the other sheet is interesting. I think that which towns will you check off? That's kind of interesting.
The free actions?
Yep. Yeah, the free actions are fun.
Like.
Or like selling alcohol, and if I cross this off, I get this. And that's fun, and that's very reminiscent of so many other games.
Yep.
Play Three Sisters, play all the games by Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle.
Right.
They do that stuff better. I wanted to like this game.
Yeah. Yeah, same here.
What do you give it?
Me?
A 7? A 9?
I struggled with my score on this. I went between 3 and 4, and I'm coming in at a 4.
I don't think the company will care. They'll be like,
Okay.
we were so close to a 4.
I went with a 4 because I do feel like it functions, and that's kind of the break between the two for me. I found the cascading that Joey was talking about to break the flow of the game. So much of what you do breaks the flow of the game to where you never get a flow. Yes, I get an extra resource. I got a coin, which gives me a resource. All right, which resource do I need? I would end up just taking a barrel because they're hard to get because I don't want to think about what resource I'm one short on. And then 30 seconds later, once I'm doing the building actions, I'm like, oh, I should have taken that instead. Okay, but I didn't know that because I was doing this in order. I should have done this first to know that. And so it's just this constant, you don't get into a rhythm or a flow or really feel like you're building up. It just feels like it's grinding. By round 4, you realize the game is only halfway over. And it's kind of like having to come back from a lunch break, and you're like, oh, I still got 4 hours of work left. Like that's what it felt like. So
Tequila, like working at the Dice Tower.
That's all right. So
next. I'm sorry. Yeah, 5. I don't like it. But here's the thing, I feel like there's interesting ideas in it. I can't rate it as low as you because there's a lot of things I did enjoy about the game, but I can't get over the lack of player interaction. But it's kind of needed. The boring fencing action, and it just doesn't, like each time I played this, I'm like, I'm going to try this, and I feel like the best strategy is to build the buildings in the order they tell you.
Yes.
And,
Only strategy.
And then try to get bonuses so you get more of the rum, because if you get a wild resource, you're like, well, I take rum or one of the other resources. It's obvious.
Right.
The coins, there's just a lot of stuff about this game that feels like it's the double side of the guys is interesting, but it's not there. I can't recommend it.
All right, so I'm coming in a little bit higher, a 6, only because the game is fine. I mean, and that's where it settles in at fine. I mean, I think the lack of really great cascading is what is going to separate it from a crowded field that includes Three Sisters, Hadrian's Wall, things like that. I mean, everything, I do enjoy parts of it, but they're fine. And halfway through a game of this length, you shouldn't be like, okay, I get it.
Would you say the game is fine?
I think it's fine.
Oh.
So it's just, but you're right. And honestly, I think it's so much on rails where you really don't have that many branching things to do if you want to win the game.
No.
All right, well, that's Tequila. Some might say more fun to drink than play. I wouldn't know. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Camilla.
We'll see you next time.
Go do tequila.
Tequila.